Me fabule una kusha una adu una kabo. This na Sarkas TV which will program Salon for Better. And as we can always bring una come real information and for let una know the things the way they run our country. But today we'll go first of all apologize to una because we don't late 1 hour 25 minutes. We'll be done supposed for start this program. And with the beguna because of some technical issue, and then other people that we for can studio, we for carry round up when they come up from the other job for can meet with we meet catch up with traffic. So this we can't let this hour, but it's better than we late than never. So we they apologize to now viewers them. We know say some people then we for don't they sleep now, but just because they the individual we for can release waiting for release for the let understand they're not able to sleep now. So would they beg una pa creo, would they all una football creo, wale una sorry for we for the late for come on. Next time would they promise say this not go be again. So me family today are also one for which we all June 10th when an holiday na a holiday where America they celebrate. Where this holiday where America they celebrate na holiday where na June from June 19. Yes, June 19, and I will give you the year later way at least na him the American name then free June 19, 1865. Now America make black people then free way na the emancipation of the black people in America. So America make today as a public holiday within it in the way black people them they go to na America. So today now we just call it like a freedom day for black people in America na an holiday in America now. So the people them for long no balance this thing now. We they go now today. Which make we come with una today when a Monday. We usually in a weekend we can come, but this is very pressing and a very serious issue. And as somebody we can broke all the thing the way they happen in Sierra Leone, where they expose all the bad thing the way the village boys then they do na the country. And not to nobody will they bring una come today. Will they bring una come the editor of the Africanist Press when at Chernoh Bah. Chernoh Bah, welcome to Sarkas TV.
Yes, thank you very much, Sarakas TV, for bringing me on again. Say it almost take more than a year since we come here, and I also want for join you for apologize to the followers and a lot of people don't wait for almost an hour and all that. So, but technology and all that, we definitely get for show understanding and patience with each other. So, thank you. It's good to be here again after a year.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chernoh Bah, and me people when I will just join we right now we get the man of the hour na Sierra Leone. We na Mr. Chernoh Bah, we na editor of the Africanist Press. Mr. Chernoh, first I will ask you first why the information here where you they pull, you get a lot of journalists in a salon where see don't they inside the man them ports, then support their response. Then they able expose and pass you they out of the country. Now you they get the information here. But I don't say you not go and tell you side they get them. What do you want to say about that? When then guy then at that free they then see don't they? No not able expose the some man in office they pass commercial bank for good day. But what you they pull so they pull commercial bank receipts, they pull debit and credits thing the way them people they are they do then they first lady president, you they get them. I don't know, people they want to know who's magic way they play for pull the information here, Mr. Chernoh. How they do
Well,
them?
not to magic, not just the nature of the job, and also realizing that not is necessary because don't not forget say we get a government we can have power on the promise and pretext say they can for fight corruption. and then come for reduce waste in public spending, all kinds of promises of running a country and introducing what they call new direction. So we own responsibility now for investigate and find out exactly whether the promises where the government make or where the party make, they tell them they campaign based on the manifesto, they don't fulfill them promises and they or they and run the country according to the promises that they made when the campaigns were ongoing. So now that drive we for decide for investigate and find out exactly how government they run, and that include looking at the finances of the government, looking at the various manifesto promises. So one way for sure the people of Sierra Leone say the government actions not reflect the promises or the public pronouncement. Now for sure exactly what they happen behind the scenes. So the
Mhm.
difference, you can say government corrupt or they don't thief money. Now the office of the first lady, the chief minister, and all of that. But the difference will be in showing exactly the evidence. Say so person don't take so amount of money, don't receive so amount of money, don't use so amount of money, don't divert so amount of money. So that we decide for do showing evidence to the people of Sierra Leone exactly how government they run, the finances of the country, how the government they operate. And before now, they say the first lady, for example, when they say they receive government money. But the people of Salome believe saying a lie. They mean believe saying a lie. They receive money, so they may talk and say it's not possible because they know say this now somebody will not even get the money where they spend now. So if you just begin to spend money we not been seized where you hold, they talks about money when I own money to the country money, but people are not been believe the statement, but the people are not been get the evidence for sure saying a lie, the first lady they lie. So we all role in that case between that argument there between the people and the first lady and the president. Now for sure, now for cut the case. So one way for cut the case and for present the evidence. So that we do. So that is basically our work as journalists for intervene in a discussion like that and provide the evidence. Say, Madam, although you dey claim say the money where they use na you own money, but evidence don't show say you dey receive government money, so na lie you dey lie to them people, and then people had them suspicion are true. So that is basically the work. How we they do that work, how we arrive at that, we own method. It's a method that we have not, that we cannot explain because the nature of the job is the nature of what the job calls for. So the government does spend over almost 2 years now. The sack people will find out how we they do this job, how they access records. But I go assure you, say if we want, we get access to the records of the government of Sierra Leone, financial operation of the government of Sierra Leone, dating back 30 years to now. So far, we don't show up to 2020 and some recent things. But for example, the travel of the president will not show how much money he don't spend from January this year up to um, this week, where Iran go Qatar and other places. But we know these things. We know how much they can pull at the bank. We know how much they spend, where they go Qatar and other places, how much they don't go keep there, how much they receive there, where they even report to the country and all of that. So it's an ongoing effort, telescope. So that this make we can announce regularly, say, the evidence we get on murder bureau, the regime and corruption and in financial operation and financial crimes will not reach up to 25%. And we mean exactly that because it is happening every day as we talk so now, including this week, where the president, they're out of the country, take money from central bank and go. We get all those records. So for we, it's not the absence of information, is when and how we produce that information to the public. So why other people know they do them and why they know able for do them, that are their own question for answer. But as far as we're concerned, this is a work that we have decided to do and that we will continue to do regardless of the challenges, regardless of what it takes to do it.
Okay. If I would now just say join we this Una will just say join this na sarcastic to program Salon for Better. And the question where they come in now, Mr. Chernoh, the only way we make you they survive now, they say the truth. I don't know because they say Fatima Bio him na Babalawo specialist. him always how they rule the country. Him fit say na juju no more for rule the country, and he don't call all the journalists them for dinner. He don't make food them for eat. He don't put wetin and call for them. Let them eat. We make them big fool. You fit say if you be this alone, you attend that kind of meeting the way he can call for them, go put wetin he can put for them. At the end, he give brown envelope. You for be able to expose them like how they expose them so.
This is an interesting, interesting question. So you dey tell me say the lack of ability or the refusal of the press na alone for show the corruption of the regime and the crimes them where the government they commit now because of the dinner where they where they attend
Then they
and they
get
don't
monthly. They get
they
monthly
don't eat the
envelope.
dinner. They
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, thank you for for add that to me thinking. Me no ever think about it that way, but it's good for get a new perspective in terms of how to explain the situation at Salone. But regarding that, I think that question speaks to something much more serious beyond the refusal or the inability of the national press for deal with the situation at Salone right now as they're supposed to do. And whether if I was in Sierra Leone, I don't in the capacity or get the same ability for do what they do so now. I will answer that question in two ways. One, um, I would have loved to be in Sierra Leone and do the work where they do now, but the situation is impossible for. We not deal with a government, we deal with a guerrilla
Alicante.
organization in power. By all indication, what we have seen from the conduct and the performance of the current regime, it is sufficient for us to conclude that we are not dealing with a government, a civilian government in power. We are dealing with a military organization that is dressed in civilian clothing. And what do we mean by that? Not a democratic regime. Although now a government we can have power through elections and through the conduct of civilian elections, but the government from the beginning, from the get-go, not show any commitment for govern according to the rule of law, according to the constitution, and according to the principles of good governance. You just have to look how the government start by taking police to parliament, beating up parliamentarians, using the court, and for remove and thief parliamentary majority, disable parliament from the get-go, disable the principle, a fundamental principle of governance, without separation of power, dismantle the independence of the judiciary, appoint party member judges who are members of the party, sympathizers of the regime as leaders of the bench, leaders of the judiciary, and taking over parliamentary majority through that process. So we there under an effective dictatorial regime. So this kind of work what they do if I've been this alone, not to say I'm not for being one for do, and perhaps they will have killed me before now because we don't get evidence, pronouncement from government effort, clear evidence of government effort for silence and destroy anybody we decide to hold the government accountable in a genuine way. So if they arrest somebody when who we consider saying a Chris man and not only arrest them, but carry and go to CID, take statement from Chris man, and also take that Chris man, carry and go to court and put them on trial. You get a magistrate who sit on the yes, Chris man, what do you say? You guilty or you're not guilty? So imagine now somebody like me, a professional journalist, uh, somebody with a sound mind and where they do this kind of way they show exactly where the president don't thief $5,000, he don't thief 100,000, don't thief 100 million, load on a plane, offload the bank, load the plane, and carry and go. Imagine what will have happened. So basically, um, maybe the silence, two things account for the silence in the country. There is a greater sector of the press where don't become complicit in the arrangement because they share in the loot that's happening in the country, then get their own political and material interest in protecting the current state of affairs, regardless of the fact say the government violent, the government anti-democratic. They not only they protect and make the world know the atrocities where they happen in the country, including the looting of the treasury. They also they help the government and they provide advice and technique on how the government for cover up some of them here. So that make you find out say it take 2 years before they step in, almost the world been believes a matter below they fight corruption. Now what we can now we able to show evidence say na a facade. And what make that story they not go out because the greater sector of the press who will be helped for highlight that, including civil society, not be do that. But there are also a tiny group of people within the country who are committed to the principle for high identity, but they're also powerless. They've been starved. Some of them also afraid the tension of the country. There's a few of them there around. And now the situation has become complicated because you get politicians as well in the opposition, across opposition parties, not just within APC, but across, both in parliament and outside of parliament. We also get a own vested material and political interest in protecting the current situation. So these are the range of issues. So in addition to the juju way they talk about, say something like the juju, na the dinner, the food, na the so you therefore identify the material interest where the cause them here. You get some of the opposition people then, we get them businesses, some of them are contractors. Like now, we dey try for publish details of travel, what we call travel agency corruption, where some of the politicians then are the opposition and then get travel agency there where they receive the highest amount of money in tickets where matter they pay, say they pay for ticket then for travel. We get for publish all the entire. So when people then begin to say, even though some of the people then they consider as opposition leaders, we then silent because they're afraid or because they don't blackmail them silent because their businesses are thriving under the current situation more than it was under the time when the new party did in power. There are also other people who have an interest in prolonging the suffering of the Sierra people because that will amplify the new interest of owner power. And you get journalists them again, will be said, and they get paid. Some of the newspaper and they get Boku advertisement now get more small money than they make under APC time. So they don't go want this government for go. Because if the government go, that small, this money when they get now for cover up the government, no go get am. Some of them not been able to publish the newspaper then try it because they not been get money. Now this government don't Canada young party in a power or them party then in a power. If they say forget advertisement to newspaper, then they get the highest number of advertisement. Not too long ago, I think 2 months ago, we even or 1 month ago, I think 2 months now, we published a sample evidence from the Petroleum Regulatory Agency, a number of newspaper there when a pro-government newspaper there, you will see them saying like private paper then, but all the advertisement where government they give to them, then they get 80%, 90% of the advertisement. So that instantly then get an obligation to protect government because if they make 20 million euro per advertisement every week from government agencies, you don't go affect that government day. If a company they give you advertisement like Africell, let me say if Africell they give you an advertisement, they make 20 million, 15 million, 30 million a week, we calculate that by month, and 100 and something million. Would I go on for? They would say, you like Africell, they know they pay taxes. We not go right about Africell because if we write about Africell, go take away advertisement, so we no go get money. And they say na business we they do. So it is a question of where business meets politics, where people's personal interest meets politics. And then when it comes to that, people then they decide, say that they protect their own individual interests against the collective interest of the general people. Then. And they don't keep this thing going for the last 60 years because the majority of the Sierra public not politically educated enough for able for read, interpret political behavior and the deceit of the political leaders who they think they represent them. And these political leaders are in parliament, in the opposition, outside of parliament as executive members of political parties, and journalists as well who are within the the range of interest, civil society organizations. You just need to look at the country and see the people and the kind of issues they take on and the kind of conversations they are willing to engage in and the kind of conversations they are not willing to engage in. So in a very, 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 very difficult environment. Sierra Leone is a difficult country. Part of it, poverty in one aspect, but the lack of character, the lack of decency, the lack of integrity among people who have become thieves for the last 60 years, who have lived as a consequence of that corruption and thievery, is the real problem, and it's an alliance across elites and friends. This is the struggle we are against. So not to that juju no more. The juju are the selfish interests of the politicians and their allies, both in the media and civil society, the academics across the country. And no other time, no, they will see this problem much more visually and clearly as now, because now um, the opportunities for more we get independent conversations are many. Seracast, all of these online platforms and tools, WhatsApp, Facebook. multiple YouTube and all that. So government will control who's how they talk and how will they talk. So like now we hold this conversation, now, yeah, and people in a salon, like now 50 people or 20 people in the, then they, they get access to that. It would have been
Okay.
impossible to do that. So the journalists themselves will help government and get difficult time. Difficult time because the difficult time we then get if you're at your radio station and your newspaper and no more and TV station, like this kind of conversation will they happen. Now you get Seracast as an alternative. No matter how difficult it is, party get MB, megabytes and all that, but we get way for talk to people them. We need to pass through this traditional radio and television station the way they only they get conversation where like government initiated conversation. So we got to look
Okay.
beyond the juju and look at the
Okay.
juju in that way lead to the interest, selfish interest.
Okay.
And that's the main thing, the conscious
Yeah.
decision.
My family, una how they watch we this na say Cast TV. We there with Chernoh Bah, we na the editor for the Africanist Perest. We get the way we call it na the English way they expose the thief because me they call it na English way for lay a sugarcoat am. We mother bio and a man the way pull abroad then form say then get power with the thief the country. And before we cross the Mr. Cheno, I talk about the journalists them. They all now waiting. They want let them talk. Now then they talk because we the two people are now at the country. We original slogan they say if they say na me uncool that one day because the one non different now. If they say na me uncool that one day, you get for friend a male doctor wey for go pull into see check say na man. So that's how mother bio and Fatima they lie and thief na the country. If they say na me uncle Landy, una not left and go say uncle after no. Una go catch una pull into see if na man. Because then they lie. And me for more I grab up, checking term or more in term, I not ever see somebody where they lie in people them. Like Mother Bio and Fatima and somebody where they thief. Because when them be just kind of power, somebody be the way them pull na lunge we tell me. Na ASP. He say where you dey travel with them two big suitcase and that small one. Where two big one and one small one. He said then take them they all na Forex Fatima the thief go Gambia. So I want know why make I dey say this. One ten day where them pull press release say the Africanist press because then na English language na in count words and where then they take full people them. Because when they come first, they say talk and do. Trust the process. I don't know the other one in Boku. So the way reach to you now, Mr. Chernoh Bah, where you begin expose them. I see them get one unit with them call, I don't know, Office of National Security where they say you they incite something at the country. Which you want to because that department they for let them talk then kind of rubbish then they where you talk waiting at the through the thief, you pull receipt. All thing you pull away Fatima thief. Fatima where you expose that way no great answer. Not to BBC go answer. So he refused for let answer to him brother say thief. But when you go to the neo-colonialists them, where they full and big fully today, he go answer, they say thief. Then we pull one report say you the incite violence or war at the country. That press release they then they shake you for let you stop for do what you they do, or you they continue for do what you they do.
No, surprise we that they do that. I think say what in the statement do it help the people of Sierra Leone for understand say the government of Sierra Leone, Madabio's regime, then constantly they behind closed doors they plan all this while how for silence the Africanist press, and that now the essence of the statement, the essence of the letter, where we able show the people of Sierra Leone that letter. But we know more than what that letter is saying regarding what government has been doing for keep the information away from the public. When we first published the first article on March 1, 2020, which is, I think, more than 2 years ago, that the first thing will happen, the Ministry of Finance bundle up all the civil servants then at the Ministry of Finance, then carry them go to CID, then go detain them, then begin ask them one by one, whether among them don't leak information to African Express. Some of them then change some of them from the ministry, some of them then sack them quietly. Nobody will ever know. Then continue to do that. Every time what we publish, and they harass people there, arrest people there, sack people there. I will tell you, say, oh, in the course of the last 2 years, where African Express they publish details and details and details and evidence and of government transactions, over at least what do we know about over 175 civil servants. Them 80% of them now internal auditors within government. Now then they don't sack because of African Express. These tier people are not Sabia. They don't even know about this because the government they hide. They try for many people that know say what will they write not true and that they disturb them. You don't understand. So that they do this under the carpet. And the journalists and the majority of the journalists in the country know. So for the people then they even talk about that. So then people that when they victimize, they not get side for go cry and side for go complain. Even as I talk to you now, the office of the ombudsman get a complaint in front of them from some of these internal auditors who then dismissed from the Ministry of Finance regarding the unfair treatment. They accuse them saying that the people that will disclose government information to African Express. So what do people then remember now the fact say now the Auditor General and the Deputy Auditor General, one of the Deputy Auditor Generals, Lara Taylor Pierce and Tamba Momo, now the only people that would have been sacked by September last year. On the everybody knows what they sack then that the rumor say that then they give African Express information. They say they leak information to we. So they not only talk that rumor, the government journalists then when are appointees in the government, they write on a newspaper, they then talk about it and they WhatsApp group, then people that know this. They not been committed on record, official record on paper. But everybody in the country be aware, say this situation they happen, the government they hide them. Why may the government not been they hide them? Because they don't want for commit on record say that this and this they happen. So what in the letter do now, that the fact say the whole meeting them na State House to say how we go deal with this African Express. Now we don't sack everybody in the government. We don't sack, we don't know who that for sack. Now we so no more left here. What for do now? Still there are they publish details, they publish salaries, they publish government record, they publish evidence. They say, well, they for fair way for stop we. One of the ways then when they want for do and I say they don't confuse now, now for ask IMC for do. So that they write now this letter, but now inside the president office, the whole meeting. The meetings that involve all the senior people in government, from the vice president to the internal affairs ministry to information ministry. So we have been subject of cabinet discussion for 2 years now. When they meet the cabinet, they talk. They meet secretly, then they talk. They meet the president office, then they talk. So not only that, they don't find other ways. These people have discussed other dangerous things there for do to